Good morning, Paul. It's November the 9th, Wednesday. Here's the heads up brief for today.
Go ahead, mate. Thank you. I'm just driving, so bear with me, but please go ahead.
Sure, Paul. So in Indonesia, workers will protest in Jakarta tomorrow. Now, this is over the minimum wage. The authorities will announce the new wages for 2023, but this won't match the demand, so protests over this issue are likely to continue over the next few months.
Okay, maybe
Also,
leading right up to the election, right? It could become a major election issue, a chance to manipulate unions. This could get momentum, mate.
yes, definitely, Paul. And we'll keep an eye out on it for you. Um, Also in Indonesia, Paul, the National Police Commission is investigating links between the police and illegal mining mafias.
Okay, gotcha. And is that getting any momentum other than talking about an investigation?
Paul, they have right now it's just talks of the investigation, but because of the scrutiny on police, due to, the Malang Stadium tragedy and the Ferdy Sambo case, there is a lot of increased security, scrutiny and pressure on authorities at the moment to investigate these issues. But whether they do it, it remains to be seen.
Well, unfortunately, in a statute legal system run by the nature of the police there, it does appear that they're starting to set it up as a Sinatron with mistresses and all kinds of things in the Freddie case. It's almost like the world's greatest public relations machine's gone into overdrive to distract from the reality of the core, which is rotten to the core. Okay, mate, just keep an eye on it. Let's see if it does affect any change other than on the surface, okay?
Yep, will do, Paul. Moving over to Malaysia, there's flash floods in parts of the country, and this is as election campaigns are underway. Now, a lot of the campaigning has been identity-based and ethno-nationalist, so that meaning that there's been a lot of dirty politics going on, and the elections are on in 10 days. So we're monitoring that closely.
Okay, it's kind of ludicrous. You'd have to think that someone specifically done it in the wettest season Southeast Asia's ever seen. Accident or strategy? I think the latter. Please go on.
Yep. I would agree it's the latter also. Moving over to Thailand, Paul, expats can now apply for visa extensions online through a new service. I'll send you details of this later today.
Well, that's interesting because everybody says it's again, it's on the surface you can, but in reality, it's easier to go and do it physically. It's still quicker to go and beat the street and go to immigration than it is to do it online. So let's just see how it performs, okay?
All right,
Before
Paul.
we notify staff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, before we notify clients, mate. Cheers.
sure, Paul. Uh, Paul, in Australia, the Australian Federal Police have been criticized for continuing engagement with the Myanmar police. Now, Australia says that this is to prevent drug trafficking, but critics say that a major drug trafficker is the Myanmarese military itself. So the relationship is being questioned. Investigations are also underway into allegations that Australian defense personnel helped Chinese military training programs.
Well, look, Australia's on the Myanmar side of things is extremely naive. A government that shelters in place and calls it forward thinking. The most entitled nation's government on earth, mate. The government and the public service. Without uranium, coal, and all the riches on earth, they'd be a failed state. So perhaps they're getting to befriend failed states, mate. The China thing, I'll leave it alone for today. Thank you.
All right, Paul. Lastly, in Australasia, Paul, in Papua New Guinea, authorities in Anga province said that there have been 48 cases of sorcery-related violence this year in the highlands, and police in South Bougainville are demanding that they be allowed to carry weapons. They say that there's increasing risk from armed criminals who have high-powered rifles.
It's a massive problem in Papua New Guinea, right to the point that there's just not enough police. Not only in Bougainville, but on the main island, the resource companies struggle. Private civil security companies can only have shotguns. The police won't change that. They won't get, the government won't fund and establish appropriate levels of policing. They just won't allow private sector to use it. So it's becoming more and more disparate between the bad guys are continually able to overpower the good guys. So ultimately, if they don't stop spending money on private purposes and start funding the country, it's going to become a failed state. Some already describe it as such, but it won't become a failed state until major resource projects close down. And then the people that describe themselves and get voted into govern can't govern because they just don't have money because the resource sector's closed down. And that may be sooner than people think, because this current reiteration of government is no better than its predecessors, other than stating it is. The reality is it's perhaps a lot worse, and certainly with its pro-nationalistic fervour, it's actually potentially taking PNG down a very, very, very dangerous path. Okay, mate, thank you.
All right, thanks for that, Paul. Paul, in South Asia, an earthquake of magnitude 5.6 on the Richter scale hit Nepal earlier today. It also affected India. At least 6 people have been killed, and reports of damage and destruction are still coming in.
Okay, whereabouts was it and how deep was it?
Paul, I'll get back to you on the depth. It was on the western side of Nepal, in a mountainous region. Tremors were felt as far as Delhi, New Delhi in India, and parts of Bihar and Uttarakhand. Yep. Lastly, Paul, in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, the U.S. Embassy warned of protests in Kinshasa and the Democratic Republic of Congo over the next few days. Now, these could turn violent. There has been a rising anti-Western sentiment in the country after UN peacekeepers have been unable to curb the rising insecurity and violence.
Sorry, just missed where that was?
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. That's the heads up brief for today, Paul.
Okay, excellent. I'll see you in the management meeting. Thanks. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Bye.